Okay, so hello, good day everyone. So today I'm going to discuss the continuation of my report last Saturday, in which it contains language maintenance and shifts. So kung no last week we've discussed about codes, yung domains of use, yung uh, high variety, low variety, diglosia. We've also discussed yung code switching. So, yun yung first. Ngayon naman is pag-uusapan natin yung language maintenance and shift. So, let's start. So, language shift. When you say language shift, language shift is the gradual replacement of minority language L1 by the dominant societal language across social domains. So, napag-discuss natin siya. Domains, ito yung mga context. We have home domain, meron tayong domain sa school, ito yung ginagamit natin na language sa domain na yun. So, domain of shift. So, meron yung example sa textbook or sa research notes, yung kay Manivend's case, in which, yep, so na-discuss ko pala yung language use. So, language use is the gradual replacement of minority, di ba? So, meron siyang different scenarios. So, ngayon, una ko discuss yung language shift sa migrant minority community. So, sa migrant, isang family lumipat ng lugar. So, migrant, so, change ng location. So, sa language shift in migrant minorities, we have example here, yung kay Maniban's case, in which nung bata pa si Maniban, ang gamit niya sa bahay is yung kanilang native language, which yung Gujarati. So, yun ang gamit niya. Yeah, first English, dominant domain. Kaso nga lang, nung tumagal ng tumagal, is biglang nag-shift na yung dati niyang ginagamit na native language or yung L1 niya, nagiging yung dominant language niya dun sa lugar. So, for example, if I'm a Filipino, lumipat sa ibang bansa, for example, America, States, yung first language, at the mga first year namin doon, ang gamit pa lang namin is yung Filipino or yung Tagalog sa bahay. However, habang tumatagal, due to the necessity of learning and using the English language, na-adapt na yung English language na natutunan sa labas. Na-adapt na yun and yun na yung ginagamit sa bahay na rin. So, yun yung language sa migrant minority. So, ito yung sabi, typical integrational pattern. Yan, that's it. So, kung first gen yun, or kunwari, kayo ng monolingual pa lang. But minsan yung monolingual, ibig sabihin yung native language nyo pala yung ginagamit nyo sa bahay, sa home. And then yung second gen nyo na, bilingual na sila. Bilingual, ibig sabihin, yung native na, and then yung language, dominant language dun sa community na yun. And then, susunod pa na generation, ang mangyayari na is monolingual ulit, pero yung monolingual na yun, yung dominant language na. So, madi-discuss later sa mga topic if ano nga ba yung reason, bakit nagkakaroon ng language shift. So, pero dito magpapahapian ko siya. So, ang key drivers ng language shift sa minority is the economic mobility, education, prestige, and assimilation pressure. Well, madi-discuss naman siya ng mas maigi sa next slide. Pero papi, yung economic ability, ito yung kailangan natin yung language kasi yun yung ginagamit namin language sa work, opportunities, job opportunities, education. Yung dominant language yung ginagamit sa education, prestige, meron siyang value or kinikilala na mas have value or dominant yung language niya. And assimilation pressure. Assimilation pressure, ito yung kind of pressure in which kahit na ayaw mo gamitin yung language or like hindi mo siya kailangan gamitin is parang kahit Kaya napupush ka na gamitin yung language kasi nga yun ang ginagamit na language ng mga nasa paligid mo. So, yung assimilation pressure. So, yun yung sa language shift in migrant minority communities. And of course, sabi ko nga, sa Philippines, pwede naman siya sa Philippines because migrant naman, hindi naman siya technically international. So, meron din tayo sa local. Sa Philippines, meron dito yung sabi niya, in the Philippines, many urban families shift from regional languages like Ilocano or Kapampangan to Filipino or English. Ang migrant, kunwari Ilocano, punta sa Maynila. Yung mga first week nila doon, ang salita pa nila sa bahay nila is Ilocano. Pero habang tumagal na tumagal, nagtatagal sila sa lugar na yun from Ilocano, ang magiging from Ilocano, ang magiging language, dominant language na sa home nila, ang gamit nila is yung ginagamit ng community which is yung Filipino or yung English. So, nagkakaroon na ng shift from Ilocano, uh, urban or indigenous language, maybe indigenous language, native language to dominant language na. So, language shift. Right. So, next is yung what if naman yung hindi sila lumipat? So, language shift can occur without migration due to political, economic, and institutional change. May nagkakaroon ng language shift kahit na hindi ka lumipat. Simply because hindi ginagamit yung native language as a mode of, for example, sa teaching, sa education. Doon pa lang, magkakaroon na ng shift. Kasi hindi mo ginagamit yung language mo sa bahay. So, hindi mo siya mapapractice, hindi mo siya ma-enhance. Kaya dito nung kay case, yung kay Azeri Tabriz ng Iran. So, Farsi, yun yung dominant language, yung official language na. Kaso nga lang, hindi yun ginagamit sa school. So, ang mangyayari, ang matututunan, ang ma-adapt ni Azeri, ni, tama, ma-adapt ng bata yung language na ginagamit sa education. Eh, language education na yun na yung magiging parang dominant language na ma-adapt yun na yun. Ayun na, RC. Adapt yun na yung language. And magkakaroon tayo ng language shift kahit na hindi sila nag-migrate sa ibang lugar. And driving force ito is yung political authority, official status, yung education, policy, economic ability, and of course, prestige. So, dito sa Philippines, similar din siya kahit na hindi ka lumipat kasi due to ang ginagamit na language education natin sa government natin is Tagalog or English. Nagkakaroon tayo ng shift kahit na hindi tayo umalis sa lugar. Example natin dito sa bahay. Uh, Dito, usually, ang mga matatanda, purely Ilocano. Pero dahil meron ng, nagkaroon na ng, ang ginagamit sa school ay Ilocano or English, yung mga second generation, third generation, yung mga susunod pa, hindi na sila fully Ilocano. Mostly, yung mga bata, hindi na sila nag-Ilocano. Ang gamit na nila is yung Tagalog or English, which is, yun yung gamit sa school and in different government papers. Social media also is a factor. So, yun, nagkakaroon na ng shift from Ilocano, nagiging yung dominant language na. So, next, paano naman yung language shift and migrant majority. So, migrant majorities, ito yung when dominant group move or colonize their language. Well, it often becomes dominant and pressure minority language just to shift. So, minority language, ibig sabihin yung minority language, lumipat, and then sila yung naapektuhan. Na-adapt nila yung dominant language ng community na pinaglipatan nila. Ngayon naman is yung lumipat. Yung lumipat ng yung lumipat naman ang nag-spread ng language and then yung language nila yun yung na-adapt. So, mga time nito is colonial and political power. Yan. Colonizer imposed language through government, education, law, religion. Dominant language is status, prestige. Minority language lose domain. So, ang pinaka-example nito sa Philippines is yung colonization, yung Spanish, in which, yep, nung Spanish, in which, like, ilan lang sila, minority group sila, ay, only lang nila, pero dahil kontrolado nila yung Philippines, na-colonize nila yung Philippines, yung Pilipino ang nag-adapt ng language nila. So, instead na sila mag-adapt ng Filipino, tayo ang nag-adapt ng Spanish. So, paano na yun yung Spanish through government, yung education. Of course, pinaka dyan is religion. Ang gamit nila sa spread the ano yun, Catholics is Spanish. So, na-adapt natin yun. And then, nangyari na is yun na yung naging dominant language. Yun na yung ginagamit natin nung panahon na yun. So, from language, nag-shift tayo sa Spanish kasi yun yung gamit or yun yung in-impose sa atin ng mga Spanish to use their language. So, yun yung language shift and migrant majorities. So, pag sinabi natin minority communities, language shift minority communities, yung na-adapt nila yung language ng community na pinagpuntahan nila. And if we say naman na yung non-migrant, yung hindi sila lumipat ng lugar, pero at least nagkaroon pa rin ng language shift kasi nga, due to the use of dominant language in different sectors sa government and education. And then, pag sabi naman natin migrant majorities, yung nag-migrate sila, yung nag-spread ng language nila, and then yung language na spread nila, yun na yung magiging dominant language. So, yun yung sa language shift. Next is yung yan, language debt. So, naniwala ba tayo sa language debt? Okay, so, language debt is, ano na bang slide to? Definition ng language debt is, sorry? Definition ng language debt is, language debt occurs when language loses all its speakers and is no longer used in any domain. So, ang cause ng language debt is massacre, disease, population, extermination. Of course, we have the political domination and colonization. Uh, dito yung sa domination nangyari dun sa Greece and Rome, in which kinolonize ng Rome ang Greece. So, nawala yung we have also the urbanization and compulsory majority language education, domain replacement by domain language. Of course, if patuloy na nagkakaroon tayo ng language shift, ang mangyayari kasi yan, makakalimutan na, unti-unti natin makakalimutan yung language, yung original language, yung L1 natin. And then, pag nakalimutan nyo siya ng lubos, edi, ang result is language debt. So, meron yung kay case ni Aya Paneco sa Mexico. Ay, hindi. Iba pala siya. Mm. Yung, ano pala, yung kay, wala kasi dito eh. Ito pala, example. Yung kay, ano pa sa yan? Kalimutan mo ba? Itong kay Ubik. Ubik died with the last speaker in 1992. Man, last. Since yung tao na yun, sila na yung last na speaker or sila na yung last na parang may alam. Nagsasalita ng language na yun. Nung namatay sila, kasama nilang nawala yung language na yun. Yun siya. So, yun yung language din. Sa Philippines, uh, similar risks exist for some small indigenous languages, particularly in geographically isolated or economically marginalized communities. So, when dominant language such as Filipino or English occupies education, governance, and media, smaller languages may lose institutional support, increasing the risk of long-term extinction. Yun, so yun yung language debt. Next is yung language loss. So, meron tayong language debt, meron din tayong language loss. So, pag sinabi natin language loss, due to language shift, kasi hindi na natin ginagamit usually yung language. Yung L1 natin, ang nangyayari yan is, yan na, definition, language loss. The gradual decline in an individual proficiency in language due to reduced use. Dahil nga hindi na natin gaano nagagamit yung L1 natin kasi mostly yung dominant language na yung Filipino or English ang ginagamit natin. Nagkakaroon ng tendency na makakalimutan natin yung rules, vocabulary, yung even expression ng ating L1. Ito, nagkakaroon dahil sa limited domains of use. Ang example natin is yung kay Annie. Yan, si Annie, dahil dun sa limited domains of use niya, ang result nun is parang lumiit yung vocabulary niya, yung grammatical niya from kaya niya dati magsalita ng complex compound yun is parang bang nabaliktad. Parang yung L1 yun, doon na siya gumagamit ng simple sentence. Yan. And then, if magsalita na siya, or if magkikipag-usap na siya, anong nangyayari na is, we have na-discuss na yung code suite, code mix. Code mixing na siya. Reduce stylistic range. Parang hindi na complex. Ang pattern ng language loss is ito. So, uh, language retreats to home in which yung L1 is hindi mo na siya ginagamit sa labas. Usually, marinig mo lang siya sa bahay. Sa bahay yun lang siya ginagamit yung language na yun. And the next is, ang magiging purpose ng language na yun is saka mo lang siya gagamitin na kapag merong prayer, religious event. And then yun na, structural complexity, alilit na yung issue mo, and then intergenerational transmission steps. Hindi na naipapamana yung language. Kasi nga, no, reduce use. Hindi na siya nagagamit. Bakit hindi na nagagamit? Kasi language shift, ang ginagamit na is yung dominant language. Ayan. Ako dito how to speak ng ano. Ito yung gusto ko i-point out. So, na-discuss natin language shift, language debt, language loss. So, pag sinabi natin language loss is yung sa individual. Yeah. And then, if lahat kayong individual na sa salita ng language na yun, biglang nagkaroon ng language loss or challenge by language loss, ang mangyayari na is language debt. So, language loss is individual, but language loss results in language debt. And usually, ang lead sa language loss and language debt? Yung language shift. So, yun, sa language loss. Next is, yeah, sa factors contributing language shift. So, dapat, sana mauna to eh. Dapat, or, kasunod dapat nung slide. So, we have economic social and political factors. So, economic motivation. Nagkakaroon tayo ng language shift kasi nga, employment opportunities, especially in abroad. Try, na, na try nyo na ba naghanap na nakakita ng job post in which yung post is dapat proficient sa L1 language. Like for example, must be proficient in Ilocano, must be proficient. Well, meron siguro if in regional base, pero usually hindi. Ang usually nahanap na is yung proficient sa English, good communication skills, something like that. Social mobility. Bakit social mobility? Kasi if you know the dominant language, then you can interact, you can gather information sa lugar. Madali ka na makipag-communicate dun sa pupunta mo ng lugar. Getting ahead. So, when you say getting ahead, di kasi natin makakaligtaan in which if you know the dominant language, especially the English, you feel like you are superior or something like that. So, getting ahead. So, nagkakaroon na tayo ng um yun. Parang na tayo ng mindset in which if we know the language, is parang mas advanced na tayo. Mas superior na tayo dun sa mga hindi nakakaalam nito. And then we also have bilingualism as per cursor of shape, especially sa mga multilingual communities like Philippines. Now we have Filipino and English. So, yun. If bilingual ka, hindi mawawala na magkaroon ng language shift. So, yun yung una, yung economic. We also have the political dominance. So, bakit tayo nagkakaroon ng language shift? Kasi nga, institutional dominance. Ang ginagamit natin na language sa school, sa government, sa court, media, workplaces is dominant language. We use Filipino, pero usually ang ginagamit na is yung English. So, yun sa political institution terms, sa current language shift kasi hindi na natin siya na-exercise. Hindi na yun yung gamit natin. Well, sa school, ewan ko kung naibalik na yung MTPLA, but yun is magandang initiative. Yan. Lack of maintenance. And when you say lack of active maintenance, yung parang bang total hindi naman na siya ginagamit sa iba-ibang transaction, ibang context. Para bang we believe na wala nang merit. Bakit pa natin gagamitin lang siya? Hindi naman siya merit. Ito is evident sa mga bata ngayon in which instead na ituro yung local dialect nila, pinapanood ay ang nangyayari is ini-expose yung bata sa English language. Hindi lang basta-basta English with British accent pa kung minsan eh. Nangyayari kapag ng mga Cocomelon, ano pa ba yung mga yan. So, so yun na. Kasi nga, they seem na kapag salita ng English is marami siya kasing opportunities. Yun yung nakikita nila. And then, di natin maaalis yung assumption na we all speak, so it's safe sa community. At na para mo nakikita okay lang na hindi natin gamitin yung language na to. Then, okay lang na din gamitin yung dialect na to kasi marami pang nagsasalita. So, it's safe. So, parang uh, na-underestimate yung time in which kahit hindi tayo mag-effort na turuan yung mga next generation, okay lang kasi marami pa naman na nagsasalita. And then yan. Kaso nga lang, ang language shift is hindi biglaan. Gradual siya. So, ibig sabihin, unti-unti. Shift can occur within 3 generations. So, yun yung unang factor. Language shift of the social, economic, and political factors. I'm sure if mati-discuss kung yung mga ways eh. So, check na lang natin. Next is demographic factors. Of course, we also have demographic factors. When we say demographic factors, rural versus urban context. Kung sa rural areas ka, mabagal. Bakit mabagal? Kasi uh, medyo old pa dun. Yung exposure sa different language is hindi ganun kadami. Compared sa urban areas in which, for example, ano ba yung mga urban areas na maraming foreigners, like for example, sa Maynila, sa Baguio, in which ang bilis ng language kasi they need, they literally need to speak the language. And dahil kailangan nila uh, speak yung language, mas yun na yung ginagamit nila. Pero yun na maganda. Isolation helps maintenance. Bakit? Kasi hindi sila maging exposed to different language. So, parang nabagal lang. Slower shift. Meron din ako sa New Zealand in which yung language sa Maori survived longer in isolated rural communities. There's lack of exposure sa different language. So yung rural versus urban, we also have the group size. Pag mas marami, yung nagsasalita ng language mo, ibig sabihin, mas malakas yung maintenance, mas mabagal yung language. And if mabagal lang, and then kalat-kalat pa kayo, ang mangyayari dyan is faster yung shift, faster yung language loss, faster din ang tendency ng language death. Yan. So, for example, yan. Kaya meron pa rin Spanish, mga Spanish America, kahit na America, is kasi nga madami yung mga Spanish doon. So, yun yung group size. It also factors. So, kung mas kakundi ka yung salita, hindi, we also have the intermarriage. Intermarriage is yung, of course, marriage between different, ayun, magkaibang L1 slide. So, when the home language usually emerge. Bakit siya factor intermarriage? Pag nag-asawa yung dalawa, babae, lalaki, ang usually na tinuturo nila sa anak nila is kung ano yung ginagamit dun sa community yun, or kung ano yung dominant. So, if ang dominant is Filipino sa asawa, edi Filipino lang yung maituturo sa anak. So, yun yung ma-adapt ng student. So, dun sa intermarriage, parental effort ang didictates ng maintenance. Yun yung demographic factors. So, kanina social, economic, and political demographic factors. And then next is yung attitudes and social networks. So, pag sa ating attitudes, if we believe na yung minority language or yung local language natin is prestige or meron siyang value, meron siyang cultural prestige, ibig sabihin bakal yung shift. However, if yun nga, sabi we underestimate na parang gaya kanina na lack of maintenance na hindi natin siya nakikita ng opportunities or para bang wala na siyang sense para gamitin, mas mabilis yung shift. And then we have also ethnic identity. Ethnic identity is language as identity marker. Pride strengthens resistance to shift. We also have the international status. If high prestige languages resist shift more easily. So it's French, Spanish, compares to small languages, mas vulnerable sila sa language shift. We also have the social integration pressure, assimilation pressure, and yan. They try to avoid being different. Kasi ang gamit ng community na yun is yung English. So, dapat nagsalita ka rin ng English. Na, nagkakaroon na ng shift. And per influence in school. Sa school, yung mga kaklase mo, ang gamit na nila is hindi na nila ginagamit yung local dialect nila. Ang nangyari is, pati ikaw, parang nahihiya ka na gamitin yung local dialect mo. Kasi wala namang gumagamit eh. Kailangan pag kinausap ka ng Tagalog, sasagutin mo ng Ilocano, sasagutin mo ng Yapat. Hindi, ang mangyayari, sasagutin mo rin ng Tagalog. So, wala ng pressure. Kahit naman hindi literally na nararamdaman yung pressure, na parang meron. So, example to yung Chilean, migrant child shifting from Spanish to English. So, yun yung factors. We have social, political, and economic. Number two is yung geographic. And then third is yung attitudes, identity, and social networks. So, lahat ng yun is factor kung bakit tayo nagkakaroon ng language shift. So, yun. So, next is, yeah, ito naman yung pwedeng gawin. So, how can a minority language be maintained? So, yan. So, social factors in language maintenance. So, dapat we believe that language is our identity or cultural identity because pride, strength, and use. If we believe na mas yung value natin is mas mataas, mas gagamitin kahit anong concept. Pipilitin pa rin natin na gagamitin yung language. Like, for example, meron dito yung, hindi naman siya pride, pero meron yung last time, nung December sa BLID, they, sa Ibanag, and, sure, Ibanag or Ilocano, Ibanag and Ilocano, in which, or Ibanag and Gatang, in which, pag nag-usap silang dalawa, yung language na nila gamit nila, hindi sila nagtatagalog. So, which is very good. So, kahit na kinausap sila ng Tagalog, ang reply ng Gadang is Gadang. Ang reply ng Ibanag is Ibanag. So, yun yung sa isa. Isa sa ways to maintain the minority language. Pangalawa, close community networks. Dito, nakikita nito sa yoga in which they use, meron ng time, I think ito yung third mass or second mass in which they use the yoga language na sa church, sa homily. We also have sa shops. Instead na English or yung Filipino term ang nakalagay, ang kinakamit nila is yung dialect, yung term dun sa mga items na pinibenta. Social events. We also have the Mengal language, Mengal festival, and it incorporates yung mga yoga cultures natin dito sa Japan. We have also next is yung family influence. So, when we say family influence, sa bahay hanggang maaari, ang dapat na gagamitin is yung minority language or yung dialect, local language natin. Para naman kahit pa paano meron pa rin exposure yung family dun sa language na yun. We also have the homeland contact, visits, migration, cultural ties. So, ito is yung mga ways or mga some ways para ma-maintain yung language. Sabi niya dito, strong social bonds slow down language shift. So, yun yung mga factor. Next, yun. Social factors in language maintenance. So, Ito yung kay, ano ba yung last? So, yung kay 38, 36 pa lang to. Ito yung how can marriage language maintain yung social factors, yung kanina banggit natin yung yan, language identity. So, next is yung, ay, next. Next is social factors in language. Like sa education, uh, dapat bilingual na. So, yung local dialect ay yung dominant language dapat interchanges sila ng nagagamit. Sa religion, yan, nabanggit yun ng religion na ginagamit na dapat gamitin na yun, magkaroon na ng gamitin na yung local dialect. Also, government policy. Dito ang ganda sa government policy in which Israel. Uh, in which nag-declare sila ng law kung saan na ang gagamitin is Israel or yung Hebrew language lang in different structures sa government and sa education. So dahil doon, nagkaroon naman ng exposure ng enhancement. So meron din dito yung ethno-linguistic vitality. So yung vitality is pag ano yan, pag buhay na buhay yung language nyo, pag sabi may status siya, yung population strength niya, marami pa yung institution support, yung language yung support ng government, like meron siya mga law, ganun. Ibig sabihin, mas bagal yung risk ng language. Visibility in public science also reflects vitality. Ang ibig sabihin ng visibility in public science. So, mga signages, meron na siya. Yung mga ibang tao dun sa malalayong lugar is aware na meron yung language. Ibig sabihin, strong or mataas yung vitality level, yung linguistic vitality niya. Ibig sabihin, mas mabagal na naman yung language. Next is yung language revival. Yeah. Language revival is then deliberate effort to restore an endangered language. So it requires strong national ethnic identity. Success depends on intergenerational transmission. Language revival is hindi naman siya literal na bubuhayin mo yung language na namatay na. It's like parang uh, i-enhance mo ulit yung language na gamit. Hindi mo siya papabayaan na. And then, deliberate effort to restore an endangered. Hindi pa siya exist. Ano? Hindi pa siya extinct. Endangered lang. So, pero revival. So, ang mangyayari dyan is, ano nga, gagamitin na siya sa mga uh, domains, sa government, sa church, may also have politics, magkaroon na tayo ng mga law, mga batas, and then, unti-unti, instead na konti lang yung nakakalam, parang dadami ulit. So, yun yung point ng language revival, reversing language shift. Ito yung sa ngayon, sa yoga, uh, revitalizing yoga language, revitalization of language. Yun nga, sabi ko, lagi ko silang example ng yoga, to use na yung yoga language sa church, also sa school, something like that. So, I think, so Welsh is just, ito yung example. So, Welsh revival through policy and education. Umagal yung language shift. Uh, hindi, I mean, baliktad. Nagkaroon ng language shift kasi nga industrialization and English dominance. So, dinadagdagan pa ng migration. So, ano yung ginawa ng mga speaker ng Welsh? So, una, government policy support. Welsh language media. Pag sinabi Welsh language media, ang gamit na sa newspaper nila is Welsh language, bilingual and immersion education. They now use the Welsh language in communication. So Wales meron sa Welsh medium schools. Compulsory Welsh education growth among nag-result ang growth among younger learners. Welsh medium ini-incorporate siya sa social. Welsh education, papasok dito yung domains and then yung sa politics. So yun. So overall, even though nakakatakot yung language debt and language shift is literally hindi natin may iwasan. Meron tayo namang ways to mitigate or tama, minimize pa rin or to para still maalala pa rin natin yung ating dialects or yung mga minority language. So, language shift, pag literal na language shift na, it can cause language loss and nagkaroon ng language loss, ang result is language death. So, yun lang, I think. And so, sabi niya dito, there is no guaranteed formula for revival. So, success depends on identity, institutional support, and sustained community effort, especially in the face of economic and global pressure. So, yun lang yung aking report. And I guess, yeah. So, thank you. It's my report for uh last Saturday.